We are back at Jones Subwoofer Solutions again, doing another amp dyno video. And today, by request, I have the Hifonics Zeus Gamma. And it says on the box 3200 watts at 1 ohm, 1600 watts at 2 ohms, and 800 watts at 4 ohms. It does not say anywhere if that's a max rating or an RMS rating. And there is no manual, just an install guide, but nothing that says any of the power ratings in the box. This is all we have to go off of. So 3200 watts at 1 ohm, 1600 watts at 2 ohms, 800 watts at 4 ohms. And again, this is the Hifonics Zeus Gamma ZG-3200. 3200 watts, super D-class monoblock amplifier. So here is the amp. I think it is a good looking amp. I like the brushed aluminum look. And it is a black Hifonics logo. It looks good. This amp does light up bright blue. I'll show you guys that in a minute. So what came with the amp? We get an aluminum housing, but a plastic bass knob. I don't know if you guys can see on the video, but there's not a whole lot of knobs sticking out there. And it's kind of hard to turn unless you get just the right grip on it. So that is interesting. Came with a couple Hifonics decals or stickers, phone cord style connector for the bass knob. It did come with hardware and some screws for mounting. And it also came with that little white one there is a high level input. This amp does accept high level inputs. So there you have the Hifonics Zeus 3200. Drop your guesses below. Let me know what you think it'll do. I do have it hooked up today to the CMAX. We've got 1/0 welding cable, which was the biggest I could fit in there. And I run 12 gauge speaker wire. So catch you at the dyno in just a second. Real quick though, this amp powered up. You can see it's got some bright blue lights. The end caps look real nice, the way they lit those. I like it. I think it's a nice looking amp. But I do know some people will find that bright blue light annoying. It is really bright. Might be hard to tell on the camera, but it is really bright. So here we are. I'm going to start with 4 ohm certified, and we'll just go from there. We are starting at 14.95 volts. Again, this is 4 ohm run, rated 800 watts, up to 1% distortion. Let's see what it's got. And we got 626 watts into 4 ohms, dropped to 14.86 volts. Not quite the rated number on the box. We will continue. 2 ohms. And we are starting at 14.91 volts. This is 2 ohms and it was rated, I think it was 1600 watts at 2 ohms. Here we go. We get 1000 watts, 1039 watts. Into 2 ohms, we drop to 14.74 volts. Looking so far like this amp is a little bit overrated. And the 1 ohm run. This was 3200 watts rated. Whoops. Reset the meter here. All right, 1 ohm run starting at 14.85 volts. Again, rated 3200 watts. Let's see it. 1,446 watts into 1 ohm, dropped to 14.6 volts. So not rated power, not even half rated power. So it's safe to say those are definitely max ratings, and as we all know, nothing does its max rating. So into Uncertified. This will allow for a little bit of clipping, and generally speaking you'll see higher numbers with just a little bit of clip there. Starting 4 ohms at 14.95 volts, Uncertified. Again, this was rated 800 watts, I think it was. Well, the clipping did bring the score up, 656 watts, dropping to 14.81. We certainly did not see the 800 watts it's rated for, though. And 2 ohms. Starting at 14.89 volts. Again, this is an uncertified run, all the way to clipping. Manufacturer had rated this at 1600 watts. We got 1,114 watts into 2 ohms, dropping to 14.68 volts. You know, if this amp was rated a little lower, I mean, the numbers aren't bad if it was labeled right. The price wasn't too bad. All right, 1 ohm uncertified. 1 ohm uncertified. We are starting at 14.85 volts. This was rated 3,200 watts. We got 1,677 watts into 1 ohm, dropping to 14.5 volts with a little bit of clipping there. So again, not the rated numbers, but for the price, I mean, a 1,500 watt amp. If they just labeled this a 1,500 watt amp, I don't think anyone would be complaining. So into the dynamic runs, these are burst tracks. These will simulate music to a point. We'll start at 4 ohms. And we're starting at 14.93 volts. Here we go. $693 watts into 4 ohms, dropped to 14.85 volts, and 2 ohms dynamic. Starting at 14.89 volts. Again, rated 1600 watts. That might be it. 1,217 watts into 2 ohms. We dropped to 14.73 volts. I do not have any charging going on today. Just the CMAX was topped up about 14.8 volts. Alright, so 1 ohm dynamic burst. This is the best chance this amp has to make its rated power. I don't think we're going to see it though. 3,200 watts rated. We're starting at 14.85 volts. Here we go. Wow. Not quite 2K. 1,932 watts into 1 ohm, dropping to 14.6 volts. And, you know, I am confident this amp can take it. We're going to go back and just to see what it does. 0.8 burst track. 0.8 ohms, starting at 14.85 volts. Let's see what it'll do. Alright, so it did dynamic burst at 0.8 just fine. We got 2,175 watts, dropping to 14.63 volts. So that is the Hifonics Zeus 3200. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. What you think about those ratings. What you think. I think this amp was like 170 bucks. If it was just rated as a 1500 watt amp, not a bad deal at all. So hang on guys, I'll get the power performance summary posted up and then we'll take a look at the back of the amp. And we're back. Got the back of the amp open and we can get a look inside. Now this honestly is a pretty good looking amp if you ask me. It does have the ZG-3200 model number there on that barcode sticker and on the board itself. The caps are all branded Hifonics. And you can see they've got these Hifonics decals on the top of them. Not a bad looking amp, honestly. I just wish they would rate these on the box closer to what they do. If this was rated 1500 watts, I think this would be a great amp. So let's take a quick look at the end caps here. It does have 1-aught power and ground. They are those angled inputs though, which make them difficult to use sometimes. The remote, the speaker wires, everything's angled, but it makes the power and ground difficult to get in there sometimes, especially if the amp has already been mounted. Again, the speaker terminals, like most Hifonics, seem to be about a 12 gauge, maybe a 10 gauge connection there. My 12 gauge fit in just fine, and there is paired connectors there, which would make it easy if you're hooking up multiple subwoofers. On the other end, you have left and right RCA input. There's the plug for the high level input that I brought up earlier. Your gain knob. The bass boost is 0 to 9 dB. I did find in the literature in the box that that's at 45 Hertz. That's a fixed bass boost at 45 Hertz. Phase knob, subsonic filter, high pass filter goes from 10 Hertz to 40 Hertz. The low pass goes from 40 to 300 Hertz. And there's your plug for the remote bass knob. So there it is. It says 3200 watts right on it. So not a bad looking amp, not a bad performing amp if you look at it as a 1500 watt amp or so. Not bad for the price. It's just the damn box. It says 3200 watts. And as we all saw, nowhere close to that. So that's it for the Hifonics Zeus. I do have a similar model, the Hifonics Brutus, coming up soon. So you guys stay tuned for that. I do want to say I thank you guys for supporting the channel. I buy all these amps myself unless I let you know that I'm testing for somebody else. But I buy all the amps new. I've got a lot of new subscribers. I appreciate it. Those that haven't subscribed, please do. Please hit subscribe. Please hit the bell so that you know when I post a new video. Feel free to share and repost my videos. I appreciate it when you guys do that. And I will see you guys next time.